Hey peeps, today I want to talk to you about chocolate bark. And you guys know that I eat low carb. Typically I stay around 20 carbs per day. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. If I go too much under 20 carbs, I start feeling really, really cranky. So I try not to do that. Y'all know I'm not a gourmet chef, Eden. You can attest to this. But sometimes I like to surprise Ange by doing a little something in the kitchen just to show her, like, look, babe, I might not be the best cook, but I will try. So the other day, we found this recipe, and it's literally got 4 ingredients. It's got coconut oil, unsweetened coconut powder. I don't know if coconut powder comes sweetened or not, but I just thought I would verify, like, unsweetened coconut powder, vanilla extract, which most people have in their house, and, Christy, I don't know if you have liquid Splenda, but we get ours from Amazon, and we get, like, 3 bottles, and it's around, like, 20 bucks, so it lasts forever. So that makes the carb count in this recipe even lower. Everything that I'm telling you is going to be in the doobly-doo, or in my pants, or whatever you want to call it. So, but it turned out really good. I just had a piece today because, I was kind of having cravings, and I was like, man, I want some chocolate, and I'm like, I'm going to grab a piece out of the fridge and have it. Now, for this recipe, it makes 12 pieces, and each piece has, and granted, the pieces are small if you make them thick. Like, I made ours, it was roughly, it was almost the size of a Hershey's bar. If you guys ever get those Dove chocolate bars, it was about the size of that, only probably twice as thick. So, what you can do is you can put down some parchment paper or some wax paper and pour it, like, in a pie pan and then break it that way. But what I did was I used a mini loaf pan and I sprayed down Pam or whatever you want to call it, and then I poured the mixture into that and I put it in the freezer 10 minutes, pop it out, and it's ready to go. So you can do it thinner and then you'll have a wider piece. But what I did was I made it in the mini muffin pan. Not mini muffin, it was like a mini loaf pan. Angie used to make, like, meatloaf in it, and the mini loaves. Anyway, it turned out really good, but I broke them into 6 pieces. So, one piece, for the recipe, it says, if you make 12 pieces, each piece has 45 calories, 5 grams of fat, 4 grams of saturated fat, 0.5 carbs, and 0 protein. That's a little thing we like to call a fat bomb. It doesn't have a ton of protein because if you eat too much protein at once, it's going to turn into sugar in your blood anyway. So it's a lot of fat, so it makes you feel really full. And it doesn't have any carbs. Well, sometimes fat bombs have carbs. It doesn't have a lot of carbs, and it doesn't have a lot of protein. That's a fat bomb, and it's really good. In the low-carb community, we're starting to get into a trend where we are realizing that fat is not the enemy. You should have fat because it's kind of, the way I compare it is like if you're retaining water, they have you take a water pill and then it flushes out water. If you want to get rid of fat, you have to take some in so that your body has it's incoming, so your body doesn't retain fat, is how I understand it. Don't argue with me. I don't care. The low carb works for me, and I'm going to keep doing what works. And this is working. So, moving forward, now, the one thing that I want to address is this recipe has packets of Splenda. Granular or dry Splenda has more carbs. If you get the liquid Splenda, Christy, I know, I was kind of talking to you about this recipe. If you do the liquid, it has very low carb amount, or carb count. So it really reduces, you don't really want to use up all your carbs on a sweetener if you don't need to. And the liquid Splenda is the bomb, and it's concentrated. So, like, 1 drop is like 2 packets or a packet of Splenda or something like that. It's on the box, but it's called Easy Sweets. And I'll also link that in the doobly-doo or in my pants or whatever you want to call it. But what you do is you take 4 tablespoons of coconut oil. And don't get your coconut oil in your local grocery store. Get it online. Nutrition is excellent. I'll link them below. Because you can get a big container of coconut oil for like $20. And I don't mean to minimize that, but with how much coconut oil is good for you and how much you can use it for a lot of different things, it's really cheap. Checking time. Okay, we're good. Then you're going to take, 4 tablespoons of coconut oil. Then you're going to get 1 tablespoon of coconut powder and a half of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then you're going to get the equivalent of 3 packets of Splenda or 2 tablespoons of no-calorie sweetener. Now for me, that's drops of the easy sweets. So, you know, just equivalent to whatever you want to use, whether it's Swerve or stevia or whatever. But I do have to say specifically that liquid Splenda is by far the lowest carb count, and just it's really good. The easy sweets version of liquid Splenda is amazing. It tastes really good. It tastes like, to me, it tastes like sugar. Maybe even a little sweeter than sugar. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take the coconut oil and you're gonna it's white and it's thick and it kind of looks like butter if butter were pure white, and it smells like coconut. Now the thing about this chocolate recipe is I don't like coconut. I don't like the smell of coconut. I don't like the taste of coconut. I don't like it. This is made primarily out of coconut oil. Yes, you could also use butter, but I haven't tried it and I don't know how it would be. So if you make it with butter, let me know. Now, by nature, fat bomb recipes tend to be more expensive to make. But if anybody does it with butter, let me know how it tastes. And I'd be interested to maybe even see a picture if you're feeling froggy. Okay, so you're going to nuke the coconut oil in like a glass bowl or something for 10 seconds at a time. I had to do it for almost 40 seconds just to get it liquid. And then I had to whisk it because there were little globules of white. So I whisked it and then it got clear. I'm guessing there were hot spots in the liquid, so it wasn't all getting the same temperature. Then you want to whisk or stir in the rest of the ingredients. I whisked because stirring was not sufficient. And then I had to try and get all the chocolate off with a fork. Excuse me, it was a hot mess. It's going to take a while for everything to really blend in, so keep whisking. I did it for like, I don't know, a couple of minutes, but you don't want to sit there and let it get cold. You want to get it all mixed in when it's still nice and hot. And then for the sweetener, I actually added more sweetener than this called for. I think it called for like, I forget now. Whatever it was, I followed it, but I added an extra drop. Checking the time. I added an extra drop of sweetener. So what I did was I dipped my little pinky in and I tasted it. And I sweetened it to taste. So that's what I recommend you do. Now, then you're going to pour it into your mold, whatever that is, but make sure it either has parchment paper or that you sprayed Pam. And then you're going to put it in the freezer. And the only thing about this chocolate is you are going to have to keep it in the fridge or the freezer. Otherwise it will melt. In fact, if you put it in your hand for like even a few seconds, it'll start melting. So that's one thing to be aware of. But this is actually what they call chocolate bark. And later on, Ange and I are waiting for a couple of supplies to arrive so that we can make low-carb Reese cups. And then we're going to show you that because the low-carb Reese cups only have 1 carb per cup. How cool is that? Normally you go out to the store and you get 2 Reese cups and it's like 18 carbs at least. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, I'll show you more when we get the other supplies and we make the whole thing. Then we'll make a video out of it. So until then, much love. Peep out.